everyone. And it's amazing that how we reached to the last session. I mean, I was just telling Valerie and Barbara that it's amazing that how the day went by and how many enlightening sessions we had. So it was amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I learned so much, and I'm excited to listen also to replays. Like I listened to all of it live. I'm like, oh, this is such great information. And now I'm also going to listen to the replays too, because there's just so much, such a wealth of information.
Absolutely.
A lot of interesting information, and I don't even think something like that happened, that there would be such a wide range of speakers and topics, and all in the area of improving education. Really the coolest thing.
Absolutely. So many points to learn. I mean, I was just listening to like Barbara's session, like when she talks about the education in the classrooms, and then we had this session just had, it's like the courageous kindness. It's not only just the education system, but also in the, like, including all the other systems. And then, like, we talk about like when the Dr. Justin James talk about the students at the PhD levels, like, like education system, how it is impacting them. And then we had the session with the Perry, the non-linear thinking and everything. I mean, I feel that it covered almost all aspects that can be touched by the education system. So it was amazing, literally.
Thank you, Lihia. That's awesome. Lihia, you've been in quite a few sessions. We're just so grateful for you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was. Thank you so much for being so actively participating, listening, commenting. Really, really appreciate it. So yeah, this panel, this session is all about sharing the voice as a parent, because we all three are parent, and we have, of course, we know that education system needs to change. We heard from people, from the like different professionals and all these levels who have been at the education, like that we have listened to these all speakers from the educationist perspective. We also listen to the children, and now I think it's time to share all the frustrations as a parent. So let's begin.
Well, Barbara, do you want to go first?
I can go first. I think it was just a fabulous event, and to hear perspective from adults and children was actually very, very interesting. And I remember when I was talking to Ambreen sometime that it might be not easy to just ask straightforward questions. Children like, what it is that you don't like in school, what it is that you would like to have more in school. Guess what? They were very open in talking about it, discussing it, and it actually and they were in a certain part of the world. But actually, let's say when I talk to my neurodivergent teenager who is growing up in upstate New York, all these frustrations and things that could be done in improving education are the same things pretty much. All kids voice really the same opinions. And the gap between what kids know, how the system is just ripping them off. That's what's happening. And the kids, they just can't be fooled anymore. Maybe in the past it was easier to sort of teach the kids, and they would not maybe like be aware of what's going on. Although even back then when I was in school, we were asking the same questions, like, why are we learning this? Who will need that? But now with technology, with more communication and connection, kids know even more that this is not right. That's my big really conclusion. And also throughout many sessions, really stressing the connection with the nature, with animals. All of this is so important, and we've seen it as an overarching theme really throughout the session too.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. And I think, like from a mom perspective, I feel like, a lot of what I talk about is with mothers and how we can work on reacting, reacting versus responding. but also how we can do that, how we can teach that, because there's so much that our kids are watching. We can tell them as much as we want to say, and to, this content, like Dr. Anderson was saying earlier, like giving the content, but how do we do it? How do we learn in different ways? I know, like, and different learners are different. Like, one of my children, they prefer to be active and would love to, like, do reading in a tree. And the other one would not at all want anything to do with that and would prefer some type of animal situation, but knowing those things, knowing what makes it more like that individual aspect, but also how can we bring all this together so we can just make it I think, first of all, a safe experience. Like, I'm like, how do we, like, do all of this? I mean, like, it's such a Herculean task. At the same time, where do we start with baby steps? And I think for me, it's maybe that, I think maybe it's that safety, like how David Dibble was saying, like the love over fear, understanding that that's where we're, and going forward. I don't know what you guys think, but that's kind of like where I'm.
No, it's. I totally agree. I mean, in order to learn, you need to feel safe and you need to feel well. And right now, many children don't have this feeling, so that is a big problem, I think. And again, based also what I said before, but somehow teachers are busier and busier. And concerned with all kinds of matters going on in the school districts. This is happening. They have less and less time. And yet, where the stress and when the change and attention is needed, it's not happening because their energy is placed someplace else. That's a big problem.
Yes.
Actually, you just said it in the beginning, Barbara, that, initially we also had the same, like, feelings about the schools and how it can. But the thing is that maybe we didn't have that kind of voice, and we were kind of more afraid to actually share our voice, because we never had maybe the access to the information at that point in time. And even at that point in time also, like, teachers just teach, they said, okay, they gave the lecture, we just made notes and something like this. Now kids know that they need more out of it. It's the one, because they have access to the information, because we just had the panel, and it's not only like these two kids that talk about. The more I actually spoken to the kids, otherwise they all like to go and watch the videos on the YouTube, because they think that it's more fun to learn from that. And they find, because they have that kind of a way that they can learn in a more fun way, instead of going to the boring way of doing that. When we were, like, young, we didn't have option to that, so, like, we were never exposed to that. And secondly, maybe, like, my mom always says that, like, we were the kind of kids that or they were like the kind of parents that we can never argue with the parents, because I don't know about your culture, but in our culture, it's like, when parents say something, that means the kids have to obey them. So I think from that culture, now when they see our kids, they usually say, oh my God, you have given so much independence to your kids, or something like this. So it's not just about that we have given this, they have more exposure also. Like, we cannot just say that, no, shut up, do it like this, the same way, because they have access to the information. They know that what's happening in the world, and they can actually argue with us, and they can give us some reasoning that why we are wrong, and then we are speechless.
And also, they talk to with teenagers. They talk to teenagers from other parts of the United States. They can even hear, like, oh, okay, you have these teachers, and that's how you are learning. Guess what? This is not happening in my school. So there is access to this information. So they know that something is really not going well in their school.
Absolutely. I think, Valerie, you wanted to say something also, right?
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's so so true. And I think that, for me, like looking back into my childhood and what I love to learn about, it was always these like novel experiences that stood out for me. Like I struggled with paying attention in the classroom. It was not something easy for me to sit and listen. But when we traveled places or when we did unique things, or even when I went outside in my backyard, like you're talking like with the Finland education, like it opens up a different world. And even like I talk about this a lot because I just loved the experience. When my oldest and we spent the night at a museum, and it was so cool, and I learned so much. And that was something that it brought me back to my childhood. I actually have it here. I was going to show it to you guys. I found this fossil in my backyard.
Wow.
When I was at 12. And anyway, it's like kind of like filled with fossils. And I always was like, I'm going to bring this to a museum. I'll bring it to a museum, figure out where it is, because it was just laying in our backyard, in my parents' yard. And then at the museum with my daughter, it talked all about like that period and fossils in Illinois where we are being underwater. And it reminded me of when I told my 6th grade class, like, you guys, it was underwater, like there's sea creatures in this fossil. And everyone kind of looked at me like I had, a couple eyes. But like, I remember that. And then I was able to tell that story to my daughter. And it was just like this, it was such a unique experience that it just wasn't, you can't get that in the classroom, like, or just that traditional classroom, I feel like. And so it's the adjunct of these type of things is so important. And if, as a healthcare provider, I feel like we talk about that a lot as well. It's like, we don't have time to educate. We don't have time to do X, Y, and Z because we have to do all these other things. Well, if we don't have time, where can we do it somewhere else? How can we have it in different areas? What can we do about that? And also, how can we have these conversations to figure out where our priorities are? So anyway, going on about it, but I'm real excited about my fossil.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, to see that fossil. I mean, having these kind of things, when we usually go on a hiking, and my kids are always looking for something. They said, "Oh my God, this is a fossil." I mean, they get something. Oh, of course, that was not a fossil, but they get excited.
We find a lot of dinosaur rocks that are supposedly skulls. I'm like, I don't know.
So awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that they are more aware, and they're more like, they're more into it, that okay, they can find those things and they get excited. So I think things have changed, and I think it's the time that we need to actually adopt the change, because if we don't do it, then it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt the young generation. And that's why I think it's more needed to actually bring about the change in the system, because it is hurting. It is hurting that the generation these days.
Absolutely. I think that is so, so true.
Yeah. I also want to point out here that, as a parent, like I know that we also talk about, we teach them about bullying, and then especially bullying from the kids and all these things. But one thing that I always also want to talk about, that the bullying from elders to the kids is even more dangerous. It's like something sometimes when maybe like the teachers or the elders around them, sometimes they don't understand. It may not be intentionally by them, but it's sometimes that is more damaging for the kids, instead of like just bullying from the kids, because we usually give them lectures about that, how they can actually be aware that how like kids can be bullying to them. But the thing is that sometimes we do face bullying from the elders, like especially in the school, the teachers, and all the elders. So that is a very big problem these days.
Absolutely.
It can be, and anybody can be a bully, right? So
yes. And even parents or relative. That's very true, Lydia. That that's what we need to speak about it. That it's not sometimes in I would just go back to our culture, because that's wherever we had to we're told that, what the elders have said is right, and we have to just respect them and like obey them or whatever it is. But that sometimes that we need to, of course, we need to pay the respect. It's not something that we don't need to have that kind of uh, discipline. We don't need to disobey them or something. And that's the main, I would just say, the dilemma also with the current age parents, that how to make our kids aware of, or to find the balance between not like find the balance between the disrespectful, not being disrespectful, or practicing the boundaries, because this is something that I face every day.
Yeah. And I think things like this just aren't necessarily taught in school.
Yes. Nobody talks about it, actually.
Yeah. And it's this playground in a sense of I don't even like the playground aspect of like how a lot of times kids, like we learn, okay, what is too hard? What is holding on too tight? What is not holding on? Like there's these things that they learn in the playground, but then when it comes to the real world, you're kind of left almost to fend on your own. I feel like it's just, or at least from, I feel like, again, from this healthcare perspective, just because that's where like a lot of my background is like when we talk about, for example, like with the adult exams, the adult physical exams, we can say, how much exercise do you get? How do you, do X, Y, and Z days per week? But we don't ask, what do you do for fun? Which we do with kids. Like we say, what do you like to do for fun? Why aren't we asking this to adults? Why aren't we saying, what do you like to do for fun? Like it kind of that play aspect. And I feel like so much, like this is such an important issue. All the bullying, all these things, all these boundaries are so important, but also like, how can we like go back to the playground, almost go back to that play, that inner child? We all have an inner child and we all want to be seen, heard, and loved, and that's just, I think so important that we just aren't talking about as much.
And what helps with talking about it and teaching children, therapy animals. And
absolutely.
I don't know, you got a chance exactly to hear our first speaker, Taylor, when she said about something about therapy rat. It was just so cute. I was just like,
yes.
Isn't that therapy rat? Because there's pet rats, but they actually like certify a rat to be a therapy animal. It's just like so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. And I'll have to say too that, Barbara, when I first heard about what you were doing, it was like a year ago or so, even more than a year ago now. Like, oh my gosh, she is having dogs come in the classroom. And it made me just like talk to just think about my relationship with my dog in a way that's like, if I talk to my dog in this way, it'll listen. And it's sometimes not the tone, maybe sometimes it is like the lower tone or whatever, but my face, how's my body language? How is my dog feel? And it allows me, and I remember you saying like, then your children, you can use that conversation for your kids. And I just, it really stuck with me. I'm like, gosh, that is just so powerful that.
Yeah, it totally is. And today also what I've noticed, and other speakers who are working in this area, they were saying the same thing. They were giving examples of situations when seriously somebody was bullied or ridiculed, and then through including therapy animals, these things stopped, and also these kids were gaining more confidence. Other children stopped bullying them. There is so much this kind of interaction. It really is hard for teachers to create a really inclusive environment in the classroom. But then again, it's very important. Lucinda, the teacher, my Ambreen teacher, she knows how to do it. Well, we also have therapy dog, my dog, but she just knows how to do it. She knows how to create such a climate. Not every teacher does it in a way that is convincing for children that being kind is a good thing to do and is a strategic thing to do, and you can have benefits from being kind. Not every kid understands that. many think that being kind is just kind of dumb, honestly, right? That somehow sometimes that's the message that they get, and that's also the reason why they sometimes bully other children, unfortunately.
Yeah. And animals, they can show that to us. They can show that. And I mean, like what the panel, like this courageous kindness, because I think that was so much of this generational thing before of like kindness is being weak. You have to be tough and, you know,
Yeah.
But it's
Exactly.
not. Like, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's basically, this is something that we need to understand, basically. And one more thing that I just want to highlight here, that especially when we are talking about as a parent's perspective, that what I've seen, because I do also have a lot of, like, I do conduct like local sessions with moms and everything. So like what I just hear major complaint is that kids don't listen to us, and then they say, and one thing that when I ask them that, okay, what's the problem? But then do they actually spend quality time with the kids? Then that's the main problem, that it's most of the time parents interaction with the kids is like their commands. Don't do this. Have you done your homework? Have you eaten? What do you want to eat? Nothing more than that. So like it's just, I usually tell them that you need to connect with them more than these obvious or daily things, because you need to find out what's going on in their lives. I mean, I know that we just when kids come from the school, how was your day? That was very normal thing. Okay, they said yes, very good one, and this one, and they are going having a test or something like this. And then when they come, they tell that okay, they're going to have tests. That, oh, have you studied? No, then go and get this study. So it's more of the most of the time it's from parents. It's the conversation. If we take out the commands, the 75% of the time it's only commands that do this or not, not to do this.
Totally.
They need to connect with them to find out what's going. They need to find out what do they really like to do, because that is when they can connect emotionally.
Absolutely.
So that's one more dilemma that, you know, these days that creates the disconnect between the parents and the kids.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a game changer. And I've talked to Dr. Jen Fraser about this because I think, I mean, like everyone, all these speakers are so incredible and just such a wealth of information. I read her book and I was like in tears with some of it, because I'm like, gosh, this is just so like everyone needs to read this about addressing bullying and how it's harm rates and all of this. And I just feel like there is so much that can be done. And I just lost my train of thought, guys.
I think, it's been like, I know it's been 8 hours, and then we've been all.
Her work is very important.
No, but Jen's work is really, I've read her book, and it's basically what she talks about mostly is about that it's bullying actually leaves a scar on the brain, and that leaves a permanent one. But the thing is, if it remains permanent if we don't treat them right, if we don't get healed. It's the good thing is about the brain is the neuroplasticity. It can be changed, and at any age, at any point. I mean, there used to be a myth that the 100-year-old person cannot learn or something. No, it's not. It's a myth. They can also learn. They can change. It's just a matter of like maybe they need a little more effort because of they need to train. It's just because they have built certain like neural connection in a way that are difficult to break, or they're difficult to rebuild. So I think that's so how
true.
you can do it.
Yeah, and sorry, I got that thought back. I rebuilt.
Oh, that's
good. So, but what you guys are saying about the fact that sometimes we don't realize how we talk, and I write about this in my book, but like saw myself on camera, like we just had this camera running for, it was with the babysitter. It was fine. She was fine. But I just, I had a camera running because I'm a new mom and all that. And I'm like, well, let me see how I sounded. I forgot to turn it off. And I know I scolded my daughter. And it was so eye-opening. I did not think I sounded like I did. Like in my head, it was I was justified by why I was saying what I was saying, whatever it was. I don't know what I was scolding her about. But when I watched it on camera, I was like, this is how I look. Like I had no idea. And the fact that I saw that was just so much like I feel like if I don't change this, I am perpetuating this generational cycle, this bullying thing. And I think that we don't even know sometimes they're doing this.
Yes.
We don't know.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so deep. Yeah. That they're very true that, sometimes we don't realize that we actually unintentionally actually do the same thing because we've been trained, right? We have been trained the same way, like the way our moms have treated, or the way the society has treated, the way that we have had the pressure, to treat our kids like that. And then it's like, sometimes, yes, I do wonder that, and many times, I sometimes it's like many times I actually say sorry to my kids that, sorry, I was wrong at that time.
Yes.
Because later on I realized that I was being not rational with them and something. And I think that's one thing that what I've learned, that we need to be more, we need to have this habit to say sorry to our kids, when we are wrong. Because
I do it.
Me too. Me too.
I sometimes think that I just said something normally, and I hear from my own child, but no, mom, you kind of like yelled at me. And it often happens when we like in a hurry.
Yes.
And then you kind of,
especially the sleep time. The bedtime.
And then you don't you yell or you raise your voice, but they feel differently.
Yeah, it's definitely a different perspective. And it is like, it's like, well, this is why I was yelling and, and it's like, but they don't see it from that. And that's not to say that like, we can't be perfect all the time, but at the same time, just being aware and like you're saying, apologize, or not even like, or maybe saying it from my perspective. Like, here's what I'm seeing, like maybe not in that moment, but here's what I'm seeing. And I think awareness is so key. And sometimes
it is,
aren't even aware. And,
I mean, it's like even if something happens, because it's just not perfect and we are busy, we have this going on, that going on, right? I'm not going to list it all, but then being aware and kind of like repairing the damage, by going, having a conversation and apologizing, and they will understand if we do it.
Yeah, that's true. I know that we can go on and on this topic, but I hope that and we have been actually going on and on for this topic since morning. It's been 8 hours and we've been talking about all these things. But it is an eye-opening, I think, and I'm so glad that we did this. And thanks to Barbara and Valerie, and like that we came together to take this step. That was the big thing, as like I think Jen or Robin was saying that the difficult thing is to take the first step.
That's true.
Because it is very difficult, and at every time and every step we learned so many things. We said, oh my God, we should have done this, done like this, and we never knew that we have to do this as a. So it's a learning experience, but I'm so glad that you guys are with me and we are together. And I know that when there is somebody asked Rumi, I think, what is the best thing? It's the destination or the goal? And he said none. It's the companionship. And I would say the same thing about you guys, that it's not about the journey or the goal. It's the companionship that I enjoyed the most with you guys, because I know that when I did some mistake, I said, like, oh my God, I did that. And it's okay. So it's amazing. I really love working with you guys. It's so amazing to find you. I mean, like in just in the panel, we said that we are connected from the different part of the world, but it's so amazing that how we get along so well with each other. So thank you so much. I'm so honored, so grateful to have met you guys.
Thank you so
and
much.
to make this thing happen.
The same from me too. And we have to remember, we have not been planning it for a year. We started thinking about it, was it like 3 months ago?
Yeah.
We didn't even say it out loud to anyone.
I know. This is like, it's
Now
like,
they
okay.
know. Now they know.
Yeah. And that's
I
true.
love it. I love it. No, it's wonderful. I love that quote too. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
It is about the companionship, and I love it. I really, really enjoyed having this day with you guys, and thank you for everyone making the comments. And I really appreciate just all the kind words. And it takes a village, right? It takes a village to make a difference, to put the pebble into the pond of ripples, like in our community and in the world.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, you
so
guys.
much. Thank you guys for staying with us. Lydia, especially for commenting and being with
amazing.
us. Matthew was also there, and so many other people. Thank you so much. Thanks to all those speakers for sharing the wisdom. So thank you. And I hope to, we hope to actually plan something of this sort again soon.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. And bye-bye and have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.